Welcome back to As Above, So Below Tarot, and welcome to part 2 of our review of the Haindl Tarot by Hermann Haindl. If you haven't seen part 1, we've briefly discussed Hermann Haindl's early life and some of the events that led to the creation of this deck. We also discussed some of its unique qualities and did a brief flip through. In this video, we will be focusing primarily on the Major Arcana, which of course contains a lot of what makes this deck special. So let's get a few basics out of the way first. The Major Arcana in the Haindl Tarot consists of the standard 22 cards. Although the Haindl Tarot borrows some key elements from the Thoth system, Strength in this deck is numbered 8, and Justice is numbered 11. Trump 14, commonly known as Temperance, is here titled Alchemy. Trump 20, commonly known as Judgment, is here titled Aeon, which follows Crowley's Thoth tradition and his ideas regarding the new Aeon. There are astrological correspondences on each card, but they do not follow the more commonly used Golden Dawn system. Each Major Arcana card in the Haindl Tarot contains the following information. At the top left, we find the corresponding letter of the Hebrew alphabet. At the top right, we find a corresponding runic symbol. Most of these letters are from the Germanic Elder Futhark, but a few are younger Futhark letters, and there is one example of a symbol from the Old English alphabet. At the bottom right, we find the astrological or planetary correspondence. And each card in the Haindl Tarot also contains a colored border indicating its elemental attribution. Red indicates fire, blue indicates water, white indicates air, and yellow indicates earth. Now that we've covered the basic anatomy of a Major Arcana card in the Haindl Tarot, let's talk about runes. The term runes typically refers to letters found in ancient European alphabets, including but not limited to the following: the Elder Futhark alphabet, used by Germanic tribes from the 2nd through 8th centuries, the Old English Futhark, used in Anglo-Saxon England from the 5th through 11th centuries, and the younger Futhark alphabet, used by Germanic tribes from the 8th through 10th centuries. Casting runes is a common practice in divination, and refers to the drawing or casting of stones containing inscriptions of symbols from the Elder Futhark alphabet. There are 24 letters in this alphabet, many of which are very similar to their modern English descendants. While these letters of course represent phonemes from the ancient Germanic dialects, they also each have been given a name, likely chosen to represent the sound of the letter itself. These names appear to be widely agreed upon by scholars, but they were not recorded until well into the 8th century. With a name, of course, comes a secondary layer of meaning, which makes runes ideal as a rich yet simple system of divination. They are often cast in spreads similar to tarot, and can be cast with tarot spreads to dignify or add additional meaning to the cards. Haindl chose 20 letters from the Elder Futhark alphabet, one of which he uses twice, cards 19, the Sun, and 21, the Universe. One character appears from completely outside of this alphabet and belongs to card 16, the Tower. This rune is only found in the younger Futhark alphabet and has no corresponding rune in the Elder Futhark system. The rune on Trump 6, the Lovers, comes from an older version of the letter thought to have been used in the 4th and 5th centuries. The rune on Trump 7, the Chariot, comes from the younger Futhark alphabet, but it does have a corresponding letter in the Elder alphabet. The rune on Trump 10, Wheel of Fortune, is taken from the Old English alphabet, but again this does have a corresponding letter in the Elder alphabet. The runic symbols on Trump 17, the Star, and Trump 21, the World or Universe, appear to be unique to this deck, as I was unfortunately unable to find an alphabet these symbols belong to. Pollack does provide clarity regarding their meaning in her book on the Major Arcana, which I'm fine with using as a reliable source for this video. Given that Haindl opted out of using traditional symbols from the more commonly known Elder Futhark alphabet, even those familiar with runes will need Pollack's book as a reference for many of the symbols chosen for these cards. According to Pollack, Haindl's goal in adding these runic symbols was to reconcile Jewish and German tradition in the tarot. Most scholars on tarot, with the exception of Waite, consider the Hebrew alphabet to be inextricably linked to the major trumps. The Hebrew letters are even assigned in their alphabetical order to the major trumps, and it is from these letters that we actually draw the correspondences between them and their pathways on the Kabbalistic tree of life. To some, the Hebrew letter correspondences in tarot are a cornerstone of understanding in systems of Western magic. The same cannot be said of these runes, however. They appear out of order and with somewhat dubious correspondence to the major trumps if viewed from a traditional perspective. However, these runic symbols are not the only way that this deck challenges tradition, so in my opinion, they should be taken with the whole of the work. Let's take a look at a few cards so you can get an idea of how this works, and then we'll wrap this up. First up, we have the Hierophant. Traditionally, this card shows a throned pope or high priest, and sitting before him are two acolytes. The idea here is that knowledge of ancient mysteries is passed down or dramatized in religious ceremony or systems of belief. In Haindl's version, we see 3 Jewish males, 1 child, 1 adult, and an elder. This represents the passing down of tradition through generations, which offers a very specific and familial perspective on religious tradition as it relates to the family unit. The Hebrew letter in the Hierophant is Vav, meaning nail, which is attributed to the path between Chokmah, which is divine wisdom, and Chesed, which represents mercy on the Kabbalistic tree of life. The runic letter here is the Elder Futhark Frad, which means wheel. According to Pollack, this represents the outer form of religious teachings and mysteries, or how we dramatized the inexplicable divine. To me, this meaning is absolutely spot on. So let's move on to strength. Here we have a feminine figure battling or taming a serpent, which calls to Eve in the Garden of Eden. Traditionally, in this card, we see a female figure taming a lion, which roughly entails integration of the shadow, to put it in Jungian terms. The Hebrew letter in this card is Tet, which means snake. This connects Geburah, or judgment and limitation, to Chesed, or mercy, on the tree of life. The runic symbol here is the younger Futhark symbol for sigil, which is a solar symbol. This lines up with the astrological symbol Leo, which is ruled by the sun. Strength is also a transformative card, which is a solar principle. Finally, let's take a look at the Chariot, one of my favorite cards in this deck. Here we have a boat instead of the traditional horse-drawn or animal-drawn chariot. Atop the boat is what appears to be a city or civilization. This represents the will of humanity to civilize despite the rough seas of existence and the ever-present animal nature as represented by the beast in the background. The Hebrew letter for the chariot is Cheth, which means fence. This connects Binah, or divine understanding, to Geburah, or judgment and limitation, on the tree of life. The fence is of course a great symbol for the chariot, as it separates the known from the unknown in the most basic sense. The rune here is Hagal, or hailstone. According to Pollack, Haindl's intention here was to focus on the crystallized version of the rune, which calls to bringing order to chaos. However, the destructive nature of hail is also of importance here, as the chariot calls to the ever-present nature of destructive force versus constructive will. Alright, so that concludes part 2 of our review of the Haindl Tarot. Coming next will be a video on the Minor Arcana, and in that we will be of course looking at the unique imagery of the court cards and getting into the Chinese I Ching, which should be a lot of fun. I will also be providing my final thoughts and offering my opinion on the value of this deck in your collection. So thank you so very much for watching. Again, this is As Above, So Below Tarot. Stay well.